Welcome to this short installation guide on how to install the Quizstorm evaluation version. First of all, visit www.quizstorm.app. Once you're on the website, go to the top of the screen and you'll see the subscription plans. Click on that, look on the left-hand side where it says try it for free Quizstorm evaluation. Put the email in there that you want the link sent to for the download. Click on the send me the link button, check your email, and in your welcome to Quizstorm email down at the bottom there's a link for the Quizstorm evaluation installer. Download that, go and find where you downloaded it to, double click on it to open it up, and then read the instructions there. Click on install, and that will extract all of the files needed and the two programs, the Quizstorm engine and the Quizstorm server, that you need to run the show. So one of the coolest features of Quizstorm is of course interactivity, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make sure that's set up and all working properly. We've got three devices in front of us on the table. On the far left is the EnjoyTech device, which is actually simply plug and play, so we'll see more of that in the setup screen. And we have two smart devices, one running iOS, an Apple device, and the other running Android. Now, you don't need to be online to use Quizstorm, but you do need to be connected to the router that is running the Quizstorm server. And as you can see from the screens on those devices, they can't find the Quizstorm server, and that's because we haven't started it yet. But they are on the correct network, and that is something we recommend, is that you have a dedicated network for running the Quizstorm server, just so there's no confusion as to which network people should be on. So when you did your installation of Quizstorm, you will have seen that it would have put two icons on your desktop, one for the Quizstorm engine and the other for the Quizstorm server. We always recommend running the Quizstorm server first. So I'm going to start up the Quizstorm server, and as you'll see very quickly, both of these devices have found the Quizstorm network once the Quizstorm server is found, as long as they're on the same network. If we take a look inside the Quizstorm server, you don't really need to concern yourself too much with all the data that's appearing on the right hand side. The key thing is that the server status has got a green light and the broadcast status has got a green light. So going back to the smart devices, as you'll see, fairly straightforward, 6 buttons, A, B, C, D, E and F. There's a number in the middle, and at the top you'll see there's a place where you can change your name if you tap on the little pencil icon. In this case, we've got two people sort of called Bert and Bertie, but there is a unique number always in the middle, so it doesn't matter if people have got the same name. But let's go in, let's change the name. We just tap on the name there, go onto our keypad, and then we can type in a new name. Let's not Bib, let's type in Bob for the sake of this example. And we just hit confirm on there, and now your name is changed. And then you actually can change your name at any time during the show, and you'll see on the Quizstorm server there that actually on the right hand side it's recognized that the nickname has changed to Bob on that other device. Nice little feature. While we're in the Quizstorm server, there is one more thing that I'd like to show you that's quite important if you want to use the Quizstorm master controller, which is available for free on iOS and Android. If you're going to use that, you'll need to go into admin credentials and set up a username and a password. When you boot up the Quizstorm master controller and connect to the network, it is going to ask you for a username and password, and that is one that you've set in the Quizstorm server yourself. That's everything we need to look at in the Quizstorm server. Suffice to say, it does need to be running while you're running the show, so you can just minimize it and put it in the background. And then we can boot up the Quizstorm engine and take a look at a couple of features in there relating to connectivity and your keypads. So here we are in the setup screen of the Quizstorm engine, and I want to draw your attention to the green lights that we can see at the bottom here. These relate to EnjoyTech and the Quizstorm server, which you can use in conjunction with each other or you can use separately. It's entirely up to you. But this is a good sign. We've got green lights, which means they're both connected and working. So if we click on the Enjoy Tech options now, it's in here that you can change the device type if you need to. It also shows the status and just reminds you, depending which system you're using, the maximum number of devices that you can use. And I'm pressing a few of the Enjoy Tech devices now, and you can see the ID, a unique number, and the letter H, which determines that it's a handset as opposed to the app. So this is a nice little confirmation that those are working, and it's always good practice to check your devices before a show starts. If you press any button on the Enjoy Tech, you'll see a red light, then a green light. That tells you that the data has been sent to the Enjoy Tech device. Let's now go and look at the Quizstorm server options, and on the left hand side here you can see it's waiting for keypads. So if you press any button on any of the keypads, you'll then see that the ID is confirmed on the left hand side there. On the right hand side where it says command session reset, this relates to commands coming in from the master controller, so you can check that out. More details of that in a separate video on the master controller. So the last thing I want to show you in this tutorial relating to connectivity and the keypads is in the holding screen. This is before we've started the show with the big intro. Maybe you've got people coming in late and they want to check that they're connected and everything's working, and you don't really want to go back into the setup to do that. So if anybody in the holding screen presses a button on their device, what will happen is on the screen you'll see a thumbs up with their name. This confirms they are connected. So as you see here, Bob and Bert, number 2 and number 1, we can see they're connected. And if you're using the Enjoy Tech system, it also works with Enjoy Tech. Press any button and you'll see it comes up, and you'll see player 18 there with the H to denote that they're using the Enjoy Tech handset. In this tutorial, I'm going to take you through everything that you need to know about your pre-show setup. As you can see, this is how the console looks when you first load it up. But actually, before we go into all the different features and details, you've already seen one when you start up the Quizstorm engine. The Quizstorm ident music is there by design. It's an opportunity to check that your sound is on, that your volume levels are correct, and that's why the music goes from left speaker to right speaker, so you can do that check prior to even going into the setup screen. Let's start by looking at the slots at the top of the screen here. You can see you've got slots 1 to 6 that are currently empty, but that isn't the maximum number of slots available. You can go to the plus and the minus icons on the right hand side and add as many slots as you like, up to 50 slots. So each module contains 5 questions and answers. So if you did have all 50 slots active, that would be 250 questions. So a massive quiz. Below the slots section are all of your modules, and they are ordered into different categories. You can see on this evaluation version there's just 30 modules that are installed. That will show you the number that you do have installed. If you are using the premium version, you have access to thousands of modules, but they're ordered into different categories. So along the top there you have text-based quizzes. The next category down are your picture quizzes. Then you have music quizzes or audio quizzes. Then we have a section for film, and finally a section for multimedia, which is a mixture of all of the above. So you can browse through here in a sort of Netflix style, looking for something that takes your fancy, or you could go up to the top of the screen where you've got a search facility where you could search for a specific quiz that you want. We can check out the search feature at the top now. Let's just put in the word pop and see what comes up. And as you can see, there's 5 categories, there are 5 modules that fit under that category. So the search facility, very powerful to find maybe specifically what you're looking for. So to add a module, you can just click in the bottom right hand corner of any module and it will add it to the first available slot at the top of the screen. We can hit delete if we don't want it. There's a little icon in the corner. If we click on the quiz module, it will actually give you a nice description in there. It will tell you the type of quiz it is. We see here it's a text quiz. All modules are 5 questions. And just as some guidance, we've put some ratings in there. So if you're not entirely sure of the content that's in there, this will give you some guidance. You should always probably check the quiz content before you run a show, but this is here just to give you an idea. And accessibility relates to how suitable it is for people, as you'll see later on when we look at some of the other quizzes. So every quiz comes with a little description, and as you'll see in here, we can either add it to the first empty slot or select a specific slot. So if you went, okay, I don't want that in first round, I want it in round 3. There it is, it's in round 3. You can delete it from there if you want to, or add it back in the first empty slot. Let's take a look at some of the other modules that are in here and see how they're slightly different to the first one. So this is a picture quiz. So you see the type there is picture quiz. Again, 5 questions. It's got a PG rating, so you might want to check the images in there. They might not be suitable for everyone. And under accessibility, being a picture quiz may not be suitable for people with visibility issues, vision impaired. Maybe that might not be suitable. Similarly, if we look at one of the audio quizzes, nice description there, gives you an idea of the music that's in it. Being a music quiz may not be suitable for people with hearing impairment. And again, in the film category, we've got a symbol there that suggests if you've got hearing or seeing issues, that might not be suitable. So there is plenty of information in each of these modules that will help you make sure that you're loading up quizzes that are going to be suitable for your audience. Okay, I think we ought to load up a quiz, and for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to pick something from each of the categories. So we'll pick something from the text category. We'll pick something suitable from the picture category. Put that in slot 2, and then we'll have a look at what we have in the audio category, epic movie themes. Put that into slot number 3, and let's look at the film category. Let's add a bit of 007 into there, and then finally we will add something from multimedia, which is a sort of mixture of the categories above, and I think that will do us for our quiz setup. Now, once you've got your modules all lined up, you might not want to use the quiz straight away. You might just be doing some planning for a quiz you're going to use later. So you can use Save Modules Setup, this red button at the top. And if you click on that, it will open your Windows browser, and you can then save a slot configuration data file. Give it a name. Let's pick something original like My New Quiz 1. There we go. Save that somewhere that you can find it. And then if you were to go into the slots, and let's just delete all of these for the sake of the demonstration. And then I go, oh, what was that great setup that I had that I wanted to load? Was that it? No, I can't remember what it was. Oh, there we go. I saved it. Let's go and load it. And there you go, you're back. A great feature for planning ahead and getting organized. Now, let's take a look at some of the other buttons on the interface. Let's go into Controls Help and have a look in there. This is really just a reminder a reference point for the 3 different ways you can control the Quizstorm engine. Firstly, we're looking here at the PC keyboard shortcuts and what they all do. And on the right hand side, you can also select the other 2 ways of controlling the Quizstorm engine. The master keypad, this has all the same functions, but actually the master keypad has additional functions when it comes to promo videos and sounds. But watch the tutorial on the Quizstorm master keypad for information on that. But there's just a quick reminder of what all the features of the master keypad do. And then finally we have the Enjoytech master controller. So if you happen to be using this system and that's the way you want to control it, but you can control it with one or all of those ways actually. So that's controls help. Let's go into settings. There's quite a lot in here. First of all, at the top, player's name. That can be set to custom, which means they can type their own name. If you'd like to restrict people not to be able to type their own name, you can go to this drop down and just make it that they can only have a player number or a team number. That's if you've got a problem with people typing in rude things, then maybe you want to select that as your default option, but custom allows them to type their own name on the Quizstorm keypad app. Promo loops, in here you can set whether they play once, single loop or loop all. This is a very powerful feature for when you're not using the Quizstorm engine for quizzes, but maybe you just want to run a sequence of videos, promotions, or whatever you want to put on your screen. So actually that's a very powerful feature that you can use to utilize your screens when you're not using Quizstorm to play quizzes. Color scheme, this really relates to Enjoytech. That's the standard Enjoytech, but if you want to use the other branding or the other colors for the buttons, that will mean that the Quizstorm keypad will match the colors with that color scheme. So that's really only if you want the Quizstorm keypad to match with a different color scheme on the Enjoytech. Then we have background music. There's some default music, but we've got a few other choices in there. This is the music, the tuck music, the bed music that happens when nothing else is going on. Or you can actually turn it off completely if you prefer not to have any music at all. Now, by default, show winners in steps is on. This means when you get to the last round, instead of showing all the top 6 positions, it will require you to press the space bar or advance button, and it will reveal them in reverse order: 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's switched on by default. We think that's a good feature, but if you prefer them just to appear, then you can untick that. Similarly, we've got the default as auto stats. That means between each question you will get the 6 columns that come up. But if you want to do that manually and you don't want it to come up after each question, then you can untick that and have a different default setting. Underneath there, we have an option for a white background. If you're using a projection screen, then the black background that is standard is not going to be ideal. But if you tick that, it will invert the image so that you get black on white, which looks much better if you're using a projection screen. That's off by default, but if you want that and you're using a projector, we'd recommend using the white background. It looks a lot nicer. And then the countdown sound. It's probably a good time to mention that the countdown clock and the countdown sound, so you can switch the countdown sound off, you can change the length of the countdown. In Quizstorm, the countdown is purely there as an aesthetic audio reference. It doesn't actually do anything in relation to stopping people voting, so it's purely a function of an audio reference and a visual reference as to how much time people have got, but nothing actually happens until you reveal the answer, so that's something to bear in mind. But you can change it in there if you want, but it's set as the countdown sound on and 10-second duration as standard. And then finally, in here, we've got your intro text, round text, and outro text. And this really is just what appears at the bottom of the screen. at the beginning, at the intro, between the rounds and the outro. So you can change that to whatever you want, bespoke that to your particular setup, your particular venue. And the last thing to mention here is that once you close this dialog, this will not save as your default until you run a show. So if you've changed the settings in there and you want them to be saved as the default, then once you've closed this box, you would need to go in and run a show to make sure that they stick as your default settings. Now, in order to show you how that works, let me just run this show. Let's go to the start screen there, and we're going to run it. And then I'm just going to hit end so I can go back to the setup and show you. If you run a show, what it will do is in the setup, you'll see that the modules we had loaded, and essentially it thinks we've run, have now got green ticks to show that these have been used. Now, if you didn't want those green ticks to appear, you can run it in rehearsal mode and it will ignore this feature. So that's really good if you want to do a run through, but without that happening. And if I click on reset usage data, it shows you the last time it was reset. I click reset and now nothing has a green tick on it. So this is ideal if you're not having the same audience over and over again. You do want to use modules, but you can't remember who you've shown them to. That is what the feature is there for, showing quizzes that have or haven't been used. Now, let's just load this setup one more time, and we're just going to run it very quickly, and then we'll end this and go back to the setup so I can show you the last few features in here. So once again, we've got our green ticks that are appearing to show that these have been used. And at the top, you can see we've got these two buttons, show unused and show unused ever. If I click on show unused, you'll see now it's only showing the 25 modules that haven't been run. So if you just want to bring up the quizzes that haven't been run since you last reset, that's a really useful feature. And then show unused ever, what this does is even if you've used a reset usage data, it will still remember what quizzes have ever been used on that particular machine. So that could be useful if you've done a reset usage data, but you think maybe you have actually shown quizzes before. So if you haven't already done so, you'll need to download the Quizstorm Master Keypad. It's available on iOS or on Android, and it is free. Now, as I detailed in the video on interactivity, when you open up your master controller, it is going to ask you for a username and password. And remember, this is set in the Quizstorm server. So if you haven't already done that, you need to go into the Quizstorm server and choose your own username and password. So you should find the master keypad fairly intuitive, but of course it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with what all the controls do. If we look at the main screen, these are your main controls to operate the show. What I'm going to do in this tutorial is explain a little bit about how you can set up the promos and the sounds. So let's first tap on the promos button. By default, promos and sounds in the Quizstorm Master Keypad are defined by numbers, but you can, if you want, add your own custom icons. Let's show you how you do that. Navigate to the folder called Quizstorm Content. This will have been installed on your local C drive during your Quizstorm installation. You'll see in that folder 4 folders labelled promo, promo icons, sounds and sound effect icons. In the promo folder, this is where you can put any videos you want as your promos. They just need to be labeled with a number and they must be MP4 format. You put the corresponding icon for that promo video in the promo icons folder and they must be labeled exactly like this with the corresponding number. That icon will then appear in your master controller. Similarly, for the sounds, your sound effect icons must go in there and be labelled accordingly. And your sounds go in the sounds folder labeled with a single number, and these must be in a WAV 16-bit format. So I've got my master keypad all set up how I want it. I've got the Quizstorm server running. I've also got the Quizstorm game engine running in the background. We've got the holding screen ready to go, and I can operate everything from here with regards to the normal quizzes. But what I'm going to do before we start the show, I want everyone to know that they should have the Quizstorm keypad app. So I'm going to go into my promos. And we've got two types here. We've got one that's got no audio and one that's got an audio soundtrack on it. Well, I've got no audio in my venue here, just in the office. So we're going to tap on the one with the audio. And as you can see, that has launched that promo very nicely. Now, if I want to come out of that promo, I could either go back to the main screen and advance from there, but I could also stop it by hitting another promo. Let's play a Bacardi commercial. So as you can see, you've got total control over what you play, and down the bottom you've got your loops there if you want to loop various promos, so you can really set it up to work in exactly the way that you want it. Let's fade that one out and let's go back to there. And with our sounds as well, sounds can be played at any point during there. I've just got some fun things in there, so if I hit on the beer icon there.
Please do not complain about the beer in this venue. You too may be old and flat someday.
Little bit cheesy, but you can put anything you want in there. It could be music, it could be sound effects, whatever you want. Let's hit that one.
Music that makes women go and the men go.
Little bit rude. You decide what you put in there. So there it is, the Quizstorm Master Keypad. Download it, give it a try, give it some practice, get it all set up exactly how you want, and you too could be the ultimate quizmaster. In this tutorial, we're going to be doing a complete run through of a show. We've already done a complete installation of the Quizstorm engine and the Quizstorm server. We've then learnt how the interactivity works with the Quizstorm server, so we can use the Quizstorm keypad and the EnjoyTech system. We've done a complete pre-show setup with our quiz modules and all the settings and configurations. And we've learnt the powerful features of the Quizstorm Master Controller. Now, of course, you can use the keyboard for controlling your show or the EnjoyTech controller. But for this, I'm going to be using the Quizstorm Master Keypad because it is just the simplest way. Now, to start with, I'm going to run a promo. This is something that you can run prior to the show and leave it on a loop so that anyone coming in can see that they need to download the Quizstorm keypad if they haven't already done so. And there's two versions of this, one with the soundtrack and then there's also one without the soundtrack if you don't want that running. And it comes up with the QR codes. They stay up for quite a while so people can just quickly scan that, get the app and be ready to go. So we're back in the holding screen and I think it's time to start the show. Now, the only place you'll see Quizstorm branding in the Quizstorm product is in this evaluation version. The premium version is always branded exactly to your brand and your colours, so this will look very bespoke when you're running your own version of it. But the intro is designed really just to get everyone excited and ready and let them know the show's about to start. And here we go. We're back into a holding screen. And what we're going to do now is hit space on the keyboard, or in fact, I'm going to use the master controller and just hit the advance button. Brings up the next round, which is science and nature. And then we hit it once more to start the round. And as you can see, the app has the title of the round on the top. And we hit the advance button again to bring up the possible answers. Should be noted that the time here and the sound, this is purely aesthetic, as I mentioned in the setup. Nothing actually happens until the Quizmaster hits the advance button to reveal the answer. So our players are now putting in their answers. We're going to hit the advance button, which brings up the answer. And then we're going to go to the stats and see how everyone did. So we can see that 3 of the players got it right. and the rest of the players got it wrong. So let's hit advance again and go to the next question. You can see in the bottom right of that screen, this is question 2 of round 1 of 5. That's really there just for the reference for the Quizmaster. So let's see how our players got on with that round. So we can see that a lot more players got the answer right on that one, but out in first place is player 18. And if we hit D, or the appropriate button on the master controller, we can cycle through different stats: total time, average time, and of course, if players are tied, the speed at which they've answered becomes very important. So we're advancing on to the next question. Now, in addition to being able to see the first 6 and the last 6, we can also go into the full leaderboard, and we can look at the stats in there should we wish to do so. You'll see at the end of the round, those using the app will actually get their stats come up on their screen. We'll see that at the end of this round. But let's get on to the next question. This is question 4 of 5, and then 5 of 5 we're going to skip through just so we can get to the end of the round. And we see the final stats there, questions answered. And there we have it. If you're still in the screen with the columns, then the players will get the stats up on their screen for the last round. As soon as you go out of the columns, that will disappear from the app. So if you want people to be able to look at their stats, this is the screen that has to stay up for them to review that. And of course you can go and check on the main leaderboard should you wish that everything matches up correctly. Now, when we did the setup, the next round we loaded was a picture round, and that means the first thing you'll see is a picture that goes full screen. If you press the advance button, it will go to a slightly smaller picture and bring up the question and the answers. And this progresses in the same way. So picture comes up first, press advance, bring up the question and the possible answers. So exactly the same as the text round, but just with the addition of a picture that comes up first. So we'll skip through this one to get to the end of the picture round, so you can see what the stats look like at the end of that. So as you'll see, the difference between the top 2 players, both 7 out of 10, but the difference is the total time and the average time in answering the question. So fastest finger is as important to getting the answer right as well. And there we have it on the leaderboard, confirming what we've just seen. Now, the next quiz that we loaded into the setup was an audio round. So what happens here is that when you bring up the first question, the audio will play. And then when you press the advance button again, you'll get the countdown start and the possible answers. And then you press, as before, to bring up the answer. So it should be noted that you can, with the audio round, let the entire clip play should you wish to do so, or you can in fact skip it if you want to. And we're actually going to skip all of these just for the sake of brevity to the end of the round. So the next one is our film round. So similarly to the picture round, you get a full screen first, and you can leave that full screen and run the full clip if you want to, or by pressing the advance button. As you've seen, just hitting the space bar or the advance button is essentially the main button that you have to use to run these quizzes. Once again, we're going to skip through these so that you can see what happens at the end of this round. So the stats have progressed. Take a look at the app, see if that all matches up, which it does. That's all looking good. And then we're moving on to our final round. So you will see on the screen as we progress to the final round that it comes up on the screen. Final round, the golden age of cinema. So we will skip through the final round because it's more of the same mixture of sort of things we've seen before. But as you'll see at this point, your stats don't come up or your columns don't come up. Nothing will happen until you hit advance, and then it will one by one bring up in reverse order: 6th place, 5th place, 4th place. And this is so that you as a presenter, as the host, can build the tension, and this is totally in your control. Nothing happens until you hit the advance button to bring up all of the players. So you can then go through. As we see there, we've got a draw, but the difference was 1 second in the end between the top 2 players. So that was very, 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 very tight. Now at this point, nobody will be able to see the stats on their device. It's only when you run this final outro movie, while this movie is running, people will be able to see their final stats on their phone. The reason for that is we don't want people to just disappear. They will have to wait until you run the outro before those stats appear on their device. So there you have it. In just around 10 minutes, we've done a complete run through of the show. Obviously, we skipped through quite quickly, but we've shown you all the fundamentals of how it works. In the holding screen at the end with your fireworks and your confetti, you can still go back in the normal way to look at the stats should you wish to, whether it's the columns or through to the leaderboard. So you can still check this after the show should you wish. Anything else that you're not sure about, please reach out. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Happy quizzing.